Meet the toughest gang of teenage girls ever to slash their way across a motion picture screen.
They can't hold us, we're juveniles.
First, you'll meet Lace. She's as affectionate as a scorpion, with all the loving tenderness of a buzzsaw.
Robbie Lee, this is your knife.
All right.
Then there's Maggie, Lace's best friend, a shapely young bundle of female dynamite.
Yes, please do.
Hey, how are you? My goodness, you don't change at all.
You look terrific, neither do you.
Good to see you. Good to see you, too. Look at you.
Two teenage wildcats, both hung up on the same guy. One of them had to go the hard way.
Okay, here we are in the armpit of Western civilization, the perimeter of the San Fernando Valley, where coincidentally all four of us gathered here today actually live, strangely enough, within a few miles of each other. I am here with the stars of Switchblade Sisters together again at last, Robbie Lee and Joanne Nail. And Joanne did say at the end of the film, which we all just saw a couple minutes ago, that you would be back and that...
Meet the teenage girl gang even the cops were scared of. Switchblade Sisters is a story of today and maybe a little bit of tomorrow.
I think that people weren't ready for a film like this because it was a little bit hard to swallow. It was hard for people to look at it because they were afraid of it, perhaps, because maybe they saw the times and the trends starting to happen that way, and they really didn't want to hook into something so real that could possibly, you know, really affect the communities in a way, or give people ideas to go out and do these things. But
It was a very powerful, women-oriented, you know, we don't need the men, we can do it on our own, and look what we can do by ourselves, and you better watch out, you know, don't you think that we can't do stuff without you. And the power was really, it was intimidating to them, to the guys in the film, and it was like, it was very neat to think that we were going to do something to show that a group of women together, you better watch out. Because just because, you know, guys get together, they think, oh, they're real dangerous. Well, women are worse. We were very dangerous.
that was my very first picture. You know, my very first picture, and...
That's not what you told me when you came in.
Oh, well, you liked my reading, remember?
No, I knew that.
But, you know, I learned a lot from you, and I learned a lot about filmmaking, and I learned a lot about camera work. It was one of those things where you ended up doing so much. I got into it. I got doing my own scenes. We did a lot of working together and figuring, you know, fleshing the characters out in really interesting ways. And I think you really trusted the actors. You certainly trusted the two of us a lot, and I really appreciated the freedom you gave us, because we, you know, when you do films later, sometimes it depends so much on the director if they're willing to let you have that kind of freedom to express all your creative talents. And Jack was that creative and that free for us.
The very first time I ever saw the picture in a theater with a real paying audience, every moment I was just cringing, and I say, oh no, and then I would think, what's coming next? And I say, oh no, not that, you know. And I would think, oh my God, this is terrible, you know, how can I do something like this? And I want to cut this and cut that. But for some reason, like 20 years later, when I see the film, I have a totally different view of it. Maybe it's because of the time that's passed, but I find it just really charming and full of all kinds of surprises and all kinds of levels that are going on at the same time, and I think it actually looks pretty good.
Well, we were in this warehouse in Glendale for about 5 or 6 days, and we were shooting at night, and we were there till like 3 in the morning, and of course it had to be raining. So we were all freezing to death, and we were wearing short sleeve shirts, and I had no sleeves in my shirts, and we were hovering around those gas heaters. Do you remember those, Jack? And they kept breaking down, and they kept bringing new ones, and it was a riot. But we were all pretty cold in that warehouse. And all us girls, our dressing room was like this horrible tile-floored kind of thing that was freezing and had one light, and we were all like hustling to change clothes together and all laughing. It was very fun to be all in there and giggling and putting on our different outfits and stuff, and going out there and hovering around the lamps going, oh.
I think the time that was my favorite scene was when I won the trust of the other girls, and they decided to go for me instead of go for her, the bad girl. That they trusted someone that had a little bit of, you know, that treated them well. And integrity. Yeah, I was going to say that, but I didn't want to say.
No,
yeah, I had integrity, and I liked the fact that they chose me over her. But I think my most favorite was when we were actually fighting the bad guys, and some of those real, out on the roller rink for one thing, or in the tank for another. or running down an alleyway shooting. I think any of those kinds of things were fun for me.
Shameless. Impudent woman! And from now on, that's gonna be us!
The Switchblade Sisters.
I'm going to ask you guys a very serious question. When you first saw the script for this movie, did you recognize that it was loosely based on Shakespeare's Othello?
Absolutely not. And I'm a Shakespeare actress from New York.
No.
Never figured that out.
No, I never
Well,
thought about that.
it's maybe hard to see
Can
the
I ask you a
relationship.
question?
Yeah.
What part of Othello is it based on?
No, it's it's with the sexes reversed. That's all.
Oh, that.
Basically, you have
Because Othello, you know, being
Betrayal and
well, the betrayal, but Othello is interesting because he was jealous of his wife, and she wasn't really doing anything, and he killed her.
That's right. And in this
But so
story,
what was that
Lace has her lover killed also, although it's not.
Yeah, but it was my fault.
Yeah, well, I say loosely based. It's loosely
It's
based.
very loosely based, Jack.
About Kitty Bruce, what it was like working with her.
I knew her father, Lenny Bruce, when he was working in burlesque joints in downtown L.A.
There's one you've
That's
been brought
where
up
that's
before,
where I first met him. Yeah, and when I met Kitty, it was the first time. It was very strange because I remembered having seen her when she was a baby, actually.
Did you do your own stunts, supposedly, or were there stunts that could have been done by somebody else, or basically was that just not an issue?
Well, actually, Bob Miner was the one that was hired to do this. He was ahead of the stunts that we did
Wonderful.
at that time, and he taught us our own stunts.
We did everything.
And they hired stunt doubles, but we ended up doing all of our own stunts and all the really heavy stunts and rolling over the furniture and fighting and falling and all that stuff.
We
And,
had some major bruises.
yeah, we really did.
But don't try to fight with them.
Remember, I want him alive.
Two teenage wildcats, both hung up on the same guy. One of them had to go the hard way.